Just like with yesterday's shoe, I'm really glad to have this shoe come down today because I was lost, didn't know what to go for. Shoes that I was looking at were too far in the future. I like my drop dates to be about 10 days away from my videos, whereas the shoes I've been looking at have been like 2 weeks or more away. And I'm like, there must be something I can talk about. And hello, there's a Power Rangers shoe that ties it up with Reebok, and then I go and have a look at it, and it's not just one shoe, but a huge pack. And what I'll be showing you guys behind me here is 5 of the 6 shoes in the pack. And the shoe that's missing is the Reebok Question Mid, and that's the shoe that I've chosen to focus in on. To be honest, it's the first shoe that I looked at. The other 5 in the pack, of course, are very cool shoes with a lot going on, but they're all about the individual Power Rangers who are signified by their colours. I don't know much about Power Rangers, and if I get stuff wrong on that, just, accept my apology in advance. But basically the Power Rangers, I think there were 5 of them, and they were colours like red and green and pink, for example, and the other 5 shoes in the pack all sort of represent one of those Power Rangers. But when you clump them all together, they make something called the Megazord, apparently, and that's what the Question Mid represents. It represents the other 5 sort of crashed together to make a super sneaker, and that's the one I want to focus on. So we're going to leave the other 5. There's Club C's and Kineticas, Zig Kineticas, and other silhouettes in the other 5, and we're going to leave those guys and then focus in on today, which is that Question Mid. And to be honest, very honest, I've done quite a few question mids at the channels. Even recently, we did one, what was it, something special about the Eyelets, where there was a circle on it. It was the lottery for the draft pick, a draft pick lottery, Reebok Question Mid, which was celebrating 25 years since Allen Iverson was the first round draft pick for the Philadelphia 76ers, I think I'm right in saying, and celebrating 25 years from that. This is his signature sneaker. Allen Iverson signature sneaker at the Reebok line was the Reebok Question Mid. There's also the Reebok Answers as well, but his biggest shoe was the Reebok Question Mid. And then, so that's why I thought this would be the shoe to look at of the pack. And then when I found out it's sort of the Megazord, there's the other 5 that are coming together to make the shoe, it sort of definitely made sense to me. Now, I read online, don't know this, haven't seen it, but there's something about the 5 pack, the whole pack, if you take the 5 individual shoes and this sort of collaboration shoe and put the boxes together, apparently it makes Megazord. So if that means anything to the Power Ranger people out there, it's maybe a nugget of information that's worth thinking about, and probably it's a clever piece of marketing from Reebok, because people who are heavily invested in Power Rangers will buy all 6 so they can use the boxes to create their own Megazord. I don't have a picture of that, unfortunately, but I think have a picture of the Megazord himself, which is that sort of all 5 Power Rangers clumped together. It looks a bit like a Transformer to me. That's my era in the 80s, more than the Power Rangers, which are more, I think, in the 90s, but definitely after my era, that's for sure. But enough about that. Let's get into the shoe. I don't really like to talk that much at the start of the videos these days. I've been trying to keep the chat till later and focus on the shoe. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to get all Japanese and have a look at the insoles. Somebody kindly took the insoles out, but took a picture of just about enough of the insoles so we could see what's going on. And I'm here in Tokyo, Japan, so when a shoe comes along that's got some kind of Japanese connection, whereas this one, it's all about the Japanese on the right insole, then I'm definitely interested, and this is my first thing that I want to talk to people about at home. So left side shoe insole has faces and pictures of the actual Power Rangers with speech bubbles that, if I remember correctly, they're speaking English on them and talking to each other in that classic Power Rangers way. But it's the right shoe that I'm more interested in. It's a cityscape picture that's on there, and it has some Japanese running up it, and it says in the Japanese alphabet called hiragana, there are 4 Japanese alphabets and hiragana is one of them, and what it says is Isho ni tataka, and I think it's tatakao, but you can't see the rest of the writing because it goes off of the edge of the picture. But what that means is let's fight together. It would depend on what the rest of the writing says. If it was like tatakao, or if it's tatakaimashou, or if it's tatakaita, or something like that. Like, it depends. The ending of the word is how you define the tense in Japanese. So future tense, past tense, present tense, those kind of things. It's the very last letters in the word that tell you that. A bit like English, where you'd say wash or washed or washing. So you need to know how the word ends to be able to tell you the tense it's in, and you can't see that on this picture here. But you can see the start of it, which says Isho ni tatakao, and that means let's fight together, but I don't know how that ends. So it could be we fought together, or we will fight together, or let's fight together. But the important thing is A, it's a cityscape. And B, it's written in Japanese, and I'm here in Japan, so that just totally ticks a bunch of boxes for me, and that's why our first stop on the shoe is definitely to have a look at those insoles. And then going on the outside and having some looks at things that are going on there. My next stop, and probably the feature that I'm drawn most to, is up on the ankle, where you can see some yellow embroidery effect. It is not embroidered, but it looks like embroidery. It looks like sort of a very intricate design that's been embroidered on top of the ankle. It isn't, it's just printed on there. It just feels like embroidery, but that yellow embroidery effect on the silver ankle is a very unique feature. Usually with Reebok Question Mid, you don't see a feature like this up there at the top of the ankle, so it's one of the things that really stood out to me, and the second thing that I want to bring to you guys in the video today that's a unique thing to look at on these shoes. Third thing that's unique to look on these guys is down at the bottom of the heels, where you see some kind of insignia. I'm assuming it's got something to do with the Power Rangers, obviously being the Power Rangers shoe and the Megazord, and something to do with their icons, or whether or not it's the Megazord icon or the Power Rangers icon or something like that, I'm not sure. But basically with Reebok Question Mids, at the bottom of the heel, there's always, or usually, a circle there. Often it will have Allen Iverson's number, which is the number 3 in there. The recent video we did for that draft ball, celebrating 25 years since Allen Iverson was drafted, they actually traded that 3 out for a 1 to signify first round draft pick. So that was kind of unusual for it not to be a 3. And then today it's even more unusual that it's not a number. It's actually a graphic on there, and it's in gold. So it's probably one of the biggest features on the outside of the shoe for a lot of people. But for me, it comes in at number 3 after the Japanese on the inside, and then that kind of unique embroidery effect at the top of the ankle as number 2. So, but a nice little detail, interesting detail as well, worth looking out for. And then if we go to the other end of the shoe, the complete opposite end of the shoe, and have a look at the toes, you'll notice there's something funky going on there, which is that there are different coloured toes, and this really speaks to that Megazord idea that the yellow Power Ranger, the blue Power Ranger, the red Power Ranger, crashing all 5 of those guys together, and therefore the toes on these are different to represent the different Power Rangers that are all kind of melded together into the one Megazord. So it's a neat little feature at the front end of the shoe that the toes are actually different. If we travel back from that, we get to another neat little feature. One of my favourite features on Reebok Question Mids is what they do with the eyelets. And in the case of these guys, they've gone with very classy metal silver eyelets on there, where the laces are looped through. Very standard in structure for Question Mids, but what's unique on them is they have a black detailing that looks like a triangle. I was kind of surprised. I was expecting to see some writing in there. Often you would see the word Reebok because there's 6 eyelets and Reebok has 6 letters. In other cases, you'd maybe see some kind of branding on there, but I could have seen a real story for Power Rangers in there somehow to fit those words in there, but they decided not to. Or Megazord, would that fit Megazord? Maybe too long, maybe 8 letters, so that wouldn't fit on there. But I was looking for some kind of writing in these eyelets like they do with Power Rangers, with Reebok Question Mids quite often, so I was kind of disappointed not to see that. And then down from that, you know what, not down, let's go up. I want to quickly stop at the tongues just because there's nothing special about them. I was kind of expecting to see some kind of mirror effect to the toes and see sort of a switch up on the tongues where you see different detailing on the left and the right shoes, but you don't see that. You see a very similar concept between the left and the right shoes on these guys. And then what we'll get to now is to the midfoot area, where you can see the branding on the side, which is very unique. Usually you'd see Reebok branding here in some kind of coloured design. The colours are there very much matching the toes on the right foot, with the yellows and the blues and the reds in there coming back to the midfoot on the side of the lateral side, but the Reebok branding isn't as obvious if it's there at all. I didn't actually see it there at all. And then down from that you get to the Hexalite midsole, where you see that sort of cushion branding styled for the Reebok line. If you have like Nike Air and you have Adidas Boost, when it comes to many Reebok sneakers, their mid-soled technology is called Hexalite, and it's really nice on this one because it's a yellow honeycomb on a red background, so it has a really striking effect to it. I did see on, I think it was a medial side, hopefully I'll find the picture, and you'll see that one of the honeycombs is blacked out and it has some kind of detailing on there that represents the Power Ranger line. So hopefully I'll be able to show you that here, and you'll be able to see that they're kind of blacked out. I thought it was the medial side, but it might be the lateral side of the left shoe, whereas the lateral side of the right shoe isn't blacked out. So a neat little detail, and a good segue into the outsoles of these guys if you flip them upside down and have a look at them right here. Sometimes you see a semi-translucent or a translucent outsole on Reebok Question Mids, but today it doesn't seem like that's happened. It seems like quite a solid, standard, dark grey rubber outsole on these guys, which is a great way to finish up this video and take us all the way back out to looking at the whole shoe. So you can see why this was the one that I would have chosen from the line. Back to those 5 pictures of the non-Reebok Question Mid, we're looking at the other 5 shoes that represent the individual Power Rangers, and then back to today's shoe. It does make sense, to me at least, to take the one that holds it all together, the fulcrum, the center point of that pack of 5 shoes. I think I'm right in saying they're calling it a capsule, the Power Rangers capsule, which is kind of a cool, neat name to give to a 6-pack of shoes. But it's a lot of interest in there, a lot of cool stuff going on, interesting things happening at the Reebok line these days, tying up with some interesting brands like the Power Rangers and recently Nerf guns and stuff like that. So interesting collaborations, interesting takes on the shoes. But for me, it's all about that Japanese on the insole that really takes it to the next level, because I'm here in Tokyo, Japan, where I've been for like 22 years. It's a long time. So it's a real, big shoe for me in those terms. Coming out, I think, on June 29th. So like I say, I've been looking, struggling looking for shoes, because I'm looking at shoes and seeing things like July 7th, July 8th, and it's like, oh, that's too far away. But then bang, here comes a shoe I hadn't seen coming for June the 29th, and it's like, yes, that's exactly what I want to be talking about. So hopefully you guys appreciate that take on the shoe there, learn some things about them and saw them in a different light. For me, it's time to just wrap up another video, and I'll do the thing that I do at the end of every single video every single day, as to remind you that because I do this 7 days a week, every single day of the year, that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.